Hello, the game has started. It's me to go first. I've got a fairly balanced rack, but some duplicates and I'm not seeing a bingo. The V is a non-bingo-y tile. So, how to sort this rack out? I can play veal. I normally prefer shorter words, but I think the score and rack leave justify this play. Wow, lots of vowels. But I have meow on my rack, which should sort that out in one go if I can play it. Doesn't quite play beginning underneath the ear veal. Veal takes D, R and S. I think that was a close call. I don't think veal was a bad play, but it may be that a short play was fairly similar in terms of how well it sims. So, what if meow doesn't play? Do I have anything with the V? Not seeing anything. What about alternatives to meow? Well, moai, I guess, but it would be useful to get rid of the U. I could play auto, but that keeps double I. Wow, what a start for opponent. And I do have a spot for meow above this I, and the score's good. I am opening up column 15, but where else can I play meow, or indeed an alternative play? Do I have anything through this N? No, not seeing anything. I am going with this. Great, and I draw the blank. I have thank it, and that plays in row I. An opponent may well be distracted by column 15. So, not many vowels, but I do have the blank, and there is a floating U. Does that help me? Don't think so. What about row E? Thank it doesn't play there. Quite, it nearly does. It just fails with the U. Let me consider the great. I still have my row I play. Is it worth looking at? And it plays, interesting, it plays one square to the left. So I have it here for 77. And I draw the X, I have a 30-point lead, so quite a close game. I play off 7 tiles, do not draw an S, so all 4 S's to come. AE didn't take anything, but now the T does provide an alternative access to this triple word square. Not sure I can play there with my X. In fact, I can't. And no super hot X spots stand out. Do I have anything in column 14? I don't think so. Does cap take a C and an S in front? I don't think it does. May takes nothing. Do I have any X plays with this V? I don't, so quite a tricky spot in terms of playing the X. I don't have to play it. I do have the H for score. And I'd like to split up this duplicate R, although that's not essential. It'll be fairly high up in the list of tiles which you would have duplicated if you had to. So I do now have a spot for Rex next to not. Yeah, maybe that is worth doing. Totally sorts the rack out. What about a play through this T? Not seeing anything. So this is what I'm thinking about. 26 points. It kills the S hook for knots. Tempts opponent to place an I or a U next to the X, which he may not have. Whereas I do have an I. And any play down here might provide access to row O, so this isn't a terrible play. Can I do better? Pin only takes an S in front. I didn't see anything with the V. Yeah, I am going with this. Do I have anything which gets the X tripled in column 10? No, I don't think so. Great, I draw an S for meows. But what's the best I can do? Probably Sug, S-U-G-H. Great, opponent goes there for only 26 points. So I have a lead and a hotspot has been removed. Now, let me come back to my X spot. I've got my I and U can go next to that. What can go next to TE? S or G? Well, G preferable. So GI or GU. What about just playing GU, thereby not providing access to row O, sorting the rack out, providing nothing since Zoo does not take any hooks, and keeping quite a handy rack leave. Elt takes an S. If I can get rid of the Z next turn, I may have a bingo in row J. 28 points, not fantastic. G could go in front of OR, but I don't have anything which can then go next to TE, which works. I am going with this. Well, I was hoping for a vowel. I don't draw one. Z can go next to the O. Do I have anything in column 14 which ends UZ? I don't. I lead by 40 points, which is fairly slender, but the board is tight, which is in my favour. HA takes a number of front hooks, could be useful. I don't have anything which goes there, apart from the S. And Helt not good, so I don't have any SH plays. I'm not seeing anywhere great for my Z at all. Hemline takes an S. Interesting. I could play DZHOS. It does burn the S, but it's going to be a decent score and it's not going to provide anything massive. Yeah, that could be close to 40 points. Let's see what opponent's got in his locker for this turn. Let me think about this play. 48 points. Wow, that'll be pretty good. And the rack leave's not terrible. INR. But I don't have a plan B. Teg takes a U after it. Interesting. If I played GI, I would have kept a U, and Z takes an S. That doesn't mean GU was the wrong play, but it could have worked in my favour had I have played G. C takes nothing in front, so the top left of the board only really accessible via vertical plays through the V, or if the board is developed in row F. Opponent down to 15 minutes. Wow, and I hadn't noticed this, but his rating is 1400, which is the absolute minimum in terms of people I play. When I send out a seek request, it's for anybody over 1400, and it's very rare that I get somebody with a rating quite as low as this. I certainly hadn't detected any inferior play from his moves to date. And he does only trail by 40 points. Both blanks have gone, which is good in terms of volatility and his chances. Now I'm still looking around for spots for my Z, and I'm struggling. Do I have any 5-letter plays beginning with Z and ending in S? Now opponent has played only 20 points and he burns a lot of bingo-y tiles. He has provided us a couple of Z spots, but none of them really work for me because ZI isn't a word and I can't extend that, and likewise I've nothing to go in front of the R. So I do need to play the D to get this move doubled, otherwise I could have retained it as a useful hook. Zo's for 48. Pretty good. Those are all bingo-y tiles. Not sure there's a 7 here, close to raisins. Yeah, I would need an A to be an S for that. So how about the floaters in Vendor and the D of Zo's? Do any of those provide a bingo? So this rack plus a D. Diarian doesn't take an S. Okay, so how about this rack plus an O? That would be a 5 vowel 8, unlikely. Wow, great bingo for opponents, sportful. A bingo with F, U and P, not many of those. Am I able to reply in kind? An opponent is in the lead. Gosh. This is tricky because the board is so tight that if I don't bingo, opponent could just outrun me. Do I really not have a bingo with S or P? Not seeing anything with the S or the P. So how about opening the board up? How can I do that? Well, opponent's play, not only is it good in itself, he's provided 2 hotspots, which means he will definitely have first shot at one of them. But I'm thinking about playing down here. If I play Ilya, well, providing a floating A when I've got an A, that's not great. Although this rack leave goes, well, does it go quite well with the D? D and S often compete, but they are both bingo-y tiles. I certainly am providing a new bingo lane, whereas if I played in column 1, well, I think to a lesser extent, because this A is more flexible in terms of where it can appear in a word. But only 15 points. Yeah, still tons of vowels to come, so I think this works quite well. I could play RLI in this spot, getting rid of all vowels, but I think that's a bit reckless. I'm going with this. Pretty good. Pretty good. So I have Snaria and Ciaran. Does either play? Well, opponent takes out this S. Do I have anything with this A? Gosh, don't think so. What about this D? Serenade. Serenade. Fantastic. You beauty. And should I be looking for anything else? Well, only 61 points. That's a shame. Still 1 seed to come for Char. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to find anything better. It would need to begin with an A or end with an A, and if there is such a play, it'll be a disappointing miss because it'll be high probability. So Snaria plus an A. Not seeing it. I'm going with this. Wow, a ton of big tiles, but that could work out. I do have some vowels to go with them, and I do have a lead. So I've got SWY, for example, bottom left. My Y can go underneath this F, but it doesn't play 2 ways. Nothing to go in front of HA, apart from the A. A is available here, so do I have a 3-letter play? I do. I have YAG, which is nice because GI takes nothing in front. Still leaves W and F, which don't go well together. Opponent's played just 15 points. Is he starting to crumble? Well, the remaining tiles overall not bingo-y, but definitely bingos amongst them. And the floating E could be useful. But I lead by nearly 30 points. What about trying to just outrun opponents? 27 points, quite decent, and this is probably the best rack leave I can hope for. Except Orphe is good. Is there anywhere for that? W. Interesting. W can go in front of HA. This S spot, super unuseful really. SWY for 27 was pretty much the best anyone can do in that spot. Gosh, Orphe nearly plays. Nearly, it just doesn't work above May. How am I doing for time? For 11 minutes on my clock. I actually have Wafery on my rack. Now, that doesn't play. Well, it plays through the A, but not for a big score. I've got WYN down here, 34 points, and those are using the same tiles as SWY. This is where I was looking. Do I have anything ending WY? This is already 36 points. So EWY or AWY or both? Wow, so close. So close, but I'm not seeing a play in that spot. No. So I have freeway through this E. I think I'd like to keep these tiles on my rack for score. Now, I was thinking about YAG. That's 33 points, keeping FW. I think I'm better off playing win for 34. Well, slightly more bingo-y, and I've got the F for score. Remaining tiles, lots of non-bingo-y ones amongst them. However, opponent could bingo, in which case we will be super close. Now my F can go above this A, so I have fog and feg. Feg would be better. Let me check the remaining vowels. 7 out of 21. Okay, not many vowels. Therefore, a play of feg, keeping A-E-R-O, a lot better than if the bag were vowel heavy. Yeah. So, is there any value from the Z to be had? Well, 2 Ds to come, so a DZO play would be possible. All S's and blanks have been played. I have forage on my rack. Nowhere great for that. So at the moment, my favoured spot is feg, which wouldn't rule out DZO. Forage in row B. 28 points. I'm not really worried about the triple-triple with an F in second place, but it's gifting an easy row A play. My lead is quite slender, so opponent could slip into my DMs at the last minute with a bingo and catch me. Now, is row F still dangerous? Well, I've removed the W. But I do still have an A which could go there. I no longer have the Y for Yelt, so fag is probably the best I can do in that spot. 17 points. 24 for opponent. I don't have a Y for sty. If opponent does, well done for him. 11 tiles in the bag. This is what I'm thinking of, 33 points. That's a nice score, and it's a nice rack leave. Can I do any better than this? No, I don't think so. Great, in a way, I draw the J, so that holds out the prospect of a decent score. It doesn't hold out the prospect of a bingo. And no D for Zo. And nowhere obvious for the J. What about down here? Yeah, I have Rioja, which helps to burn tiles if there are more than 6 left. Not a great score. Do I have anything which gets the J tripled? I don't think so. I have jailer on my rack, spelt, I think 2 ways, with an O and an E. Sov, I guess that could have been extended potentially to sovereigns. Now, suddenly the remaining tiles looking a little more bingo-y. It's only the W, Y and Y, which aren't, and there's a floating A and E, which benefits opponent given the vowel drought. So definitely not over yet. Now I have Rioja in row B as well, which would take out this E. That might be worth considering. Great, opponent interferes massively with the A, but gets a decent score. So I only lead by 35. Great, the remaining tiles looking a lot less bingo-y. All the E's have gone. What to do here? Is Rioja the play? Well, it empties the bag. I don't really want to do that. 4 tiles left. What about playing just JO? This is a really nice 5-letter set. Well, it's a nice bingo-y 5-letter set, but the only bingo lane is row O. I'll be keeping an E for OSE. Only 15 points. Surely I can do better with my J. Surely. But I'm blocking this E. That's part of the whole point. But do I need to? Is there a bingo in the remaining tiles? I'm not sure there is. I'm really not seeing anything. But if there is something there, it wins if I empty the bag. 8 minutes on my clock. So, what to do? Now, do I play the J? Do I play JO? I think I do, because I think the only way opponent is going to win is if he bingos. I can't block the E and the A. The E probably more dangerous. There could be an ED ending word. Joe kills row A. And this puts me far enough ahead, 390 to 340, a 50-point lead, that if opponent doesn't bingo, I am sure I can simply outrun opponent. Well, the remaining tiles looking super non-bingo-y. Do I have anything through this A? Don't think so. 36 points for opponent, so my lead is only 14 points. Wow. But opponent's emptied the bag. He's not going out in 1. I think if I can just go out in 2, it should be my game. But how can I do that? How long do I have? I have 7 minutes. Do I have anything at the bottom? I don't think so. And I'm looking, given that I've only got 1 pointers, I'm looking to score off the scoring tile. So what about scoring off P and B? So I could play tail in this spot, keeping air. That's 18 points. Can I go out with air? Well, I have Ria and Aha, and I have Aria at the bottom. So 18 points for stale will take me to 408. I will lead by 32. That has got to be enough. Absolutely got to be enough. There's just nowhere massive for opponent's tiles. Well, could he play boarding? Is that good? Well, if it is, it's still not enough. I have Ria, which will win. Now, is there an anagram of Rioja? I don't think there is. I was confusing it with Orixa and Ixora. I was wondering if there was a 5-letter play ending Joe with these tiles, and there isn't. Now, best spot for Ria or air. 9 in row F. 7 in row J. Osar is good. 9. I think Osar is good, it may not be. Dawing, 22. Yeah, nice play, but it's not going to be enough to win the game. So this is the best I've seen. 6 minutes on my clock, 9 points. Can I really not do better than that? Where might a better play work? Anything through IN? No, Rani doesn't play. Okay, I'm not seeing anything better than this. And the final score, 398 for my opponent, 429 for me, a winning margin of 31 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Well, that was a tight game. I didn't feel that I was definitely going to win it at any point. Now, it was me to go first, and I played Veal. Interesting, I could have played Malva, and Duplicate E, not a problem. So possibly a couple of points dropped there, but AM may be better than double E as a rack leave. Now, great start for opponent with Hemline and the first blank. However, D5 could have got 86 points for Liegeman as a double-double. My rack, I play Meow, which is lurking down here because Manitou was available. There was a double-double through the N. Wow, that would have been the play. 7 more points than Meow. And also not opening up column 15. And look at this, opponent does have the S. Opponent plays Cap, and now my rack. And I have Thank It for 77, I7. That's where I played it. It also plays one square to the right, which I initially saw. And E14, Outthink through the U. Interesting, 66 points. But this placement of Thank It, I think the best of the options available. Opponent's rack plays Not. And what do I do here? I play Rex. Hex is available for 9 more points. Interesting. I played Rex to split up duplicate R, keeping GHIR. But Hex, keeping GIRR, that looks worth an extra 9 points. I don't think these rack leaves differ by that much. So GHIR would need to be 9 points better than GIRR for Rex to be a better play based on score and rack leave. So what value would I place on GHIR? I would say that's negative. I would say it's possibly minus 1 or 2. It feels close to 0. It does have some merit. And GIRR, I would put in a very similar position, very close to 0, maybe slightly negative. So I'd put both of those at about minus 1 or 2, in which case Hex is a superior play. Opponent's rack plays Sov. And now what do? I play Goo for 28, keeping HIRSZ. L13. Could have played Gush, putting an H in the middle of row O. I don't think that is worth doing, even for an extra 10 points. I'm burning the S, which accounts for most of it, and I think this rack leave has a lot of potential. Now, great rack for opponent. Has erodents and rodents and misses them. I guess erodents is a tricky one to spot. Rodents isn't. However, this bingo lane in row J does feel slightly disguised. It doesn't leap out at you in the way that some lanes leap out at you, so maybe opponent just didn't spot the lane. However, he does play Vendor. My rack, I have Zoes for 48, that looks fine. And I have a 70-point lead. And amazing, opponent misses rodents and then spots Sportful from what looks like a pretty unpromising rack. Now, this is where the game got super interesting because there's just 5 points between us, and opponent has created 2 hotspots, and with the remaining tiles certainly has the potential to win the game. Now, what do? Izar is available for 28, keeping AINS, nice. What I do is I play Ilya for 15, which I did for strategic reasons. I wanted to keep bingo lanes open on the board, and I was particularly mindful of the ratings differential between us. So I didn't want to have a non-bingo-y board and then opponent to get lucky. I think this helped keep the bingo lanes open, which I felt was to my advantage, but Izar certainly a nice play. Opponent's rack plays Caddy. Now Serenade, the only bingo. So delighted to have spotted that. I initially thought I'd missed it, but I did spot it, and it was a huge relief and would have been an annoying play to miss. However, it is quite a tricky one to spot. That gave me half a bingo's lead and hope in terms of winning the game. Opponent's rack plays Euro, and this, although often would be a bad rack, actually looked a nice rack because it had a lot of scoring potential. And I play Win for 34, and I like that. You can see, just looking at these rack leaves, that AEFGR is the best. Opponent's rack, close to a bingo, plays Tab. Now 11 tiles in the bag. What do? I play Feg for 33, that looks fine. Opponent's rack plays Eerie, which scores well, but obstructs this floating A, which is to my advantage. And now, this was a very interesting position, only 4 tiles in the bag. How do I hang on to a 30-point lead? So B2 Rioja, I thought about that, but it empties the bag. Didn't want to do that in case opponent has a bingo. So I played Joe for 15, which stops opponent from bingoing through this E, as would Rioja, but doesn't empty the bag. Now opponent's rack plays Zoe, and I lead by 14. That's a huge lead in the context of the bag being empty and opponent having this rack. So I played Tail, and I could have played Rail in that spot. But Lariat available, F2. Well, very difficult to know what's best here. All of these moves score 18 points. Opponent's rack plays Dawing, which was a nice spot. And finally, there were 10 points available, N13, Gur and Rhea, and Ray playable in the same spot. So 1 point dropped at the end. And that was the end of that. So what a game. Actually super tight or super close all the way through. And then opponent gets his bingo sportful down. And that made the match even closer. And there were some interesting spots at the end in terms of obstructing bingo lanes and what to play and what to keep and whether or not to empty the bag, all of which presented one with difficult choices or challenging choices. And it was good in the end to do well enough to scrape over the line in first place. So many thanks to my opponent for a good battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.